So listening to that, I wonder what you think is the message of 1 Timothy chapter 6. You see, it's not really actually about money at all. It's something more like teaching for worldly gain. But what is it that makes a teacher false? So I did a quick Google search during the week about how to recognise a false teacher, and I came up with this page from a Bible site called gotquestions.org. I've had a go at gotquestions.org before. I don't think they're terribly accurate in a lot of what they say. But on their page, how can I recognise a false teacher or false prophet? They say this: Jesus warned us that false Christs and false prophets will come and will attempt to deceive even God's elect. To guard against falsehood and false teachings, it is important to know the truth and know the characteristics of the counterfeit. And then it says, here are 3 specific tests to apply to any teacher to determine the accuracy of his or her teaching. And it poses 3 questions. The first question is, what does this teacher say about Jesus? The second question is, does this teacher preach the gospel? And by the gospel it says, the gospel is defined as the good news concerning Jesus' death, burial and resurrection according to the scriptures. And finally it says, does this teacher exhibit character qualities that glorify the Lord? Now then, I turn to 1 Timothy chapter 6 and I ask the same question. How does that passage tell us how to identify a false teacher? And the thing is, it's not because they teach falsity. It's because they teach for reward. They teach for a goal which is not to do with God, but to do with the world. In other words, a false teacher has a hidden agenda. They're doing it for their own sake, rather than the uses of the truths that they teach and the benefit of the people that they're teaching. So what's the problem when we come to this question of identifying a false teacher? What's the problem with weighing up the truth or falsity of what they teach? What's the issue there? The thing is that 2 people can preach exactly the same thing from different points of view, from different agendas, for different reasons. And indeed, anybody can rote learn any truth and just regurgitate it, represent exactly the same thing. Or perhaps regurgitate the truths that you expect to hear. And the thing is, the trust in a person's word derives from their character, not from what they say. So when Jesus talks about this problem, what does he say? He says, beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravenous wolves. You will know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? Even so, every good tree bears good fruit, but a bad tree bears bad fruit. A good tree cannot bear bad fruit, nor can a bad tree bear good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Therefore, by their fruits you will know them. Why is the character of the teacher so important? The reason is that truth leads to good, but the thing is that truth also derives its nature from good. It derives its essential quality from good. It springs from good. So the good that exists within the heart of the teacher is what brings forth the truth that they teach. Let me just share with you some passages quick, short sound bites really from the teachings of the church. When good is formed so as to be intellectually perceived, it is called truth. However, a person calls truth whatever favours his good. The reason a person does not want to understand truth is because of evils of life. And no one can see whether the doctrine of their church is true except those who are in the affection of truth for the sake of the uses of life. Those who have this end are continually enlightened by the Lord. He also says, no truth is holy unless it comes from good. All truth looks to good. He who wants perception in spiritual things must be in affection of truth from good. Do you see how good in the heart has such a huge effect on the truths that we believe and the truths that we present? What I find really interesting about this passage from 1 Timothy is the way it's so relevant to our modern world, our modern encounter with information technology. You know, news information is so easily accessible to us, and it becomes a barrage that is confusing. We do not understand what it is that we should be listening to and what it is that we should be ignoring. Let me read these words again. This is Paul's description. These people, these false teachers, they are proud, knowing nothing, obsessed with disputes and arguments over words, from which come envy, strife, reviling, evil suspicions, useless wranglings of men of corrupt minds and destitute of the truth, who suppose that godliness is a means of gain. From such withdraw yourself. Can you see how relevant that is to our world today? You go, it doesn't matter what your platform is. YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, the news sites. You see this all the time. So what is it you listen for to sift out what is worth hearing and what is worth ignoring? I wonder if you have any guide yourself as to how you do that. How do you know whether to take someone's opinion seriously or not? If I were to encapsulate it, for me, in one word, it's humility. But here's some of the things that I just noted down as the way that I assess what I hear when I hear anyone speak, be it on the news or be it face to face. Can the person admit to getting it wrong? I was part of a philosophy course many years ago that I heard, and the teacher said the ability to change one's mind is a sign of intellectual honesty. So I'm looking for honesty first, rather than an insistence that they're telling the truth. Can the person who is speaking challenge their audience's preconceptions? I find that a challenging one myself. But is the person who is speaking honest enough to put their opinions out there and what they believe and challenge what they expect their audience to understand? Can they state their case dispassionately without resorting to insults or insinuations, either of me, the person they're speaking to, or their intellectual opponents? Can they consider a broader picture? Can they incorporate others' views or explain others' views into their thinking? Or are they selectively presenting a very narrow view of the truth only to push a particular agenda or a particular line? Where does the teaching come from and what does it lead to? And I note the insistence that self or worldly focus is to be avoided. And I particularly note that for us, in the work that we do on social media, particularly our YouTube channel, one of the things that we have to be aware of is the pull always to get subscribers, get more people watching your videos. It's almost insidious the way that it draws you to, say it this way, say it that way, because more people will listen if you do this, more people listen if you say that. We're to ignore that. We're to put it aside and focus on the truth as we understand it. So these are questions that are worth asking ourselves, but I want you to ask them in two ways. One, in terms of the people that you listen to, but also ask yourself about the way you present the truth. Do you do so with a spirit of humility? Are you able to, for example, acknowledge when you get it wrong? These are questions that are worth asking ourselves.